This morning's webinar, we're going to talk about the visa interview and immigration. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of what we expect from you when you arrive on campus. And then we're going to go into what you need to remember for the visa interview. And I need you to keep this as a release. This is just guidance. This is based on the research that we have done, the students that we have spoken with about their experiences with the visa interview. This is by no means a guarantee that if you do everything we say on this webinar that you will pass your visa interview. Because in the end is between you and the visa officer. And who knows, you are the only two people who actually know how that visa went. So we are giving you this simply as guidance based on our experiences. Okay, so 3 documents that you should be or might be familiar with. One is going to be your passport, of course. You're not going to have a United States passport. You will have a passport from your country, sorry. Your I-20 is, some of you will have their I-20 already issued by our office. And then, of course, the visa. Some of you have already emailed your visas to us. And thank you for that. If you get your visa, please do send us a copy of it. We like to know who has their visa and who doesn't. The passport, your passport from your country must be valid the entire time you're in the United States. We do not track the expiration date for the passport. We don't have an ability to do that. You need to make sure that you are checking your documents. If it looks like your passport is going to expire, you need to contact the consulate or embassy for your home country and get the procedures and the processes for getting your passport renewed. So each country has their own way of doing this. We cannot keep track of that. So I need you to make sure that you are checking your passport. It is required that your passport be valid the entire time you're in the United States. This is very, very important. If it goes out of status, if it is not valid, you cannot use it, number one, as a legal document of identification. And so that could lead to other consequences and other problems. So make sure that you have your passport is valid. Find a date every year, check it to make sure you don't forget and get caught with it being or going out of status or getting completed and you haven't processed a renewal. The I-20 is another very, very important document. This one we are going to talk a great deal about as we go through. The I-20 is the document that allows you to get your visa appointment. It is also the document that allows you to stay in the United States. The date in the red arrow, this is your program date. It has your program start date and your program end date. For all of you, your program start date should be August 25th because that's when classes start in the fall. The program end date will depend on if you are a bachelor student or a master's student. The bachelor students take generally 8 semesters or 4 years, whereas a master's will take 4 semesters or 2 years. This date, the end date, we are able to adjust as you move through the program. If it looks like you're not going to make it, you need to let us know. The major is going to be in blue. This has a number. It has your major. It's not always going to align with what you see in your acceptance letter. Sometimes they don't line up exactly well. We have 2 different systems that are creating these things. One is a system here internally at MTSU. The other one is SEVIS. So they don't always match. The number, the zip code, that number is what's really important. Whether the words match, they may fluctuate. We suggest that you read all 3 pages of your I-20. Page 3 has some very important information that you need to make sure you're aware of. When you sign this document, you are promising that you understand everything on page 3 and you understand all the immigration regulations that we have explained them to you. The I-20 may never expire while you're a student. That program end date can never be in the past. It always has to be in the future. This is, again, something that we will talk to you many, many, many times about. If this program end date or this I-20 ever becomes where it isn't valid or it expires, It is a bigger problem than just us adjusting the dates. We need to get USCIS involved, and that is never an easy or a cheap process. So we ask that you make sure you find a date, review all of your documents, making sure nothing has expired and everything. If you need to get it renewed, you have time to do that. The visa is your permit to enter the United States. The visa, make sure this is also valid anytime you want to re-enter the United States. So this is it does and can expire while you're in the United States. If you want to go home, you will not be able to re-enter the United States unless you have a valid visa. Two offices from this government, the federal government, that we work with in our office. One is the Student Services, Student Exchange Visitor Information. This is SEVIS. You will hear us talk about these acronyms over the next 4 years a great deal. You all, if you have an I-20, you have a SEVIS ID. You're already in the system. When we create the I-20, we create for you a SEVIS ID. That's your SEVIS number. Begins with an N, usually 00. It's in the upper right-hand corner of your I-20. The second government agency we work with is USCIS. This is where we go if we want to apply for OPT, if we need to go through a visa status change. You will submit an application with USCIS. This generally takes several months to process anything through USCIS. Some things that we need you to know for maintaining status here in the United States. Once you arrive in the United States, if you are a bachelor's degree student, you must be enrolled every spring and fall semester. Summer is optional. However, if you start in the summer, you must be enrolled full-time. The next few clicks are going to give you the regulations you must follow. For undergraduate students, you must have a minimum of 12 credit hours each semester. You can have more than that, but you must have at least 12 credit hours. 9 of these credit hours must be on-campus classes, must be face-to-face. The other thing we need you to do is maintain a 2.0 GPA. If you fall below a 2.0 GPA, you will be put on probation. The second semester you're below a 2.0, you will get suspended from the university. And we need you to mute your phone. So this 2.0 becomes important. If you get suspended from the university, that means you need to leave the United States. You may not be in the United States and not be enrolled in classes. So this has bigger consequences. Can we mute them, John? Okay. Okay, at the graduate, if you are a master's or a PhD student, you must again be enrolled full-time each semester, spring and fall. Summer again is optional unless you're starting in the summer. Your first and your last semesters at MTSU, you have to follow these regulations. So your first semester, if it happens to be summer, you have to follow. If your graduating semester happens to be summer, you have to follow these regulations. So graduate students, you must have a minimum of 9 credit hours each semester. You must have 6 hours on campus, and you must maintain a 3.0 GPA. Now, what I haven't talked about, and we're going to get into a little bit more when we do our next step webinar, is the graduate assistantships. These requirements change a little bit for graduate assistantships, but sometimes they are required still to do the 9 credit hours. It changes by your offer letter will give you the requirements you need to maintain. So remember, we want you to remember, and again, I will probably say this many, many, many times, you are responsible to maintain your own immigration status. We advise, we are here for guidance. If you don't let us know you have a question or a concern, we don't know. But you are overall responsible to maintain F1 status. This webinar, the next step webinar, the international orientation are all designed to give you all of the information you need to maintain your immigration status and therefore be legal in the United States as a student. You must enroll every semester, and you must maintain full-time enrollment, at least 12 hours for an undergrad, 9 for a graduate, throughout the semester. That doesn't mean just in the beginning of the semester, and then you can drop the class. And you must meet the on-ground requirements. So you may never have only online classes, or the majority of your credit hours may never be online. And again, check your draft travel documents. Find a date that's significant for you every year and check your documents. Check your visa, check your passport, check your I-20. Make sure you know your graduation date. Talk to your academic advisor. Ask them, am I on track? Will I graduate on time? If that matches up with the program end date on your I-20, it's all good. If it looks like you're going to need extra time, as soon as you understand this, please come and talk to us so we can help you extend out that I-20. Now, we're getting into the visa interview, and I really would like for you to take notes on this. We're going to keep all of your questions for the end. We will do them live at the end of the presentation. So the visa interview takes 4 minutes or less. This is a very, very short time for the officer to make a decision on whether he grants you a visa or not. So knowing everything you need to know, coming in prepared, is very, very important. They don't have time to do this. They will do hundreds of visa appointments in a day or a few days. The visa officer is always looking for specific information. Now, they won't come out and ask you point blank the question. They're going to have different ways, and every question they ask you that's designed to find out if you have this information that they need. Okay? Again, the questions will vary by person. They will ask you a very roundabout way, but they want to know what you know about your program, about the university, and your time in America. You also have to show you have a command of English. If you don't understand a question, ask to have it repeated. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Could you repeat the question, please? If you don't understand or you're not answering their question specifically, you need to make sure that your English is good enough. Just because you passed the English proficiency exam and sent that to us and reached the level of acceptance, if you can't make it through the visa interview or you're not understanding what they're asking you, they will deny you. Know your academic program. This is so very important. Where will you study? Will you study in Memphis? Will you study in Murfreesboro? Where will you study? What will you study? What is your major? What is your concentration? Why do you need to come to the United States? Why is it you cannot stay in your country and study this major and get your degree in your home country? Why do you need to come to MTSU? Why do you need to come to the United States? What courses will you take? And this is a tricky question. But on the MTSU website for the undergrad as well as for the grad, they are going to list the classes that you can take. Some of them are optional. You may find a range of classes that you can take and you choose 8 to 10 credit hours from that list. But they will give you a really good narrow view of the courses that you might take. If you click on those hyperlinks, they will also give you a short description of the courses. So you can dig down and find out what courses you will take. At the undergrad, every undergrad will give you a hyperlink that will lead you to a sample 4-year program of courses you will likely take. It won't look exactly like that, but it will give you a really good idea of what you will take, what classes. And these questions, this question in particular, is actually designed to see how much homework have you done and to find out about your program. So read and reread the homepage of your chosen major. Find it on the MTSU You can find it. Everything you need is on that MTSU homepage and on the MTSU website, guaranteed. Very few questions that come our way that we can't point to a page on the MTSU website. Well, you will find that answer. So I encourage you to read and reread the homepage of your major, both grad and undergrad, all the requirements. They might ask you, how many history classes will you take? Will you take history? When will you begin your major courses? They can ask you those. It shows that you have done your homework. Okay, have your financial documents in order. If you have a scholarship or you have an assistantship, understand the conditions. Know the amount of your scholarship. Know the value of your assistantship. Does it include a stipend? How many credit hours do you need to take? How many hours will you work on your assistantship? All of those things are in your letters. The scholarship form that you sign and send back to us gives you every condition that you need to meet of that scholarship. So know what your information is. Know the amounts, know the value, so you can explain it if he asks you. You must have financial support for the entire 4 years. So he might ask you, yes, you gave us a bank statement for the first year of your studies, but how do you plan to pay to finance yourself for the second, third, and fourth year of your studies? Do you have a plan? And so if you say, I don't know, they might likely deny because you don't have a plan. One thing to remember about the F1 visa is you can never get any financial support from the US government. So we do have social systems set up that we support people who don't have a job or have a very low income, but you cannot benefit from any of those because the F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa. You are here only to study. You must find a way to support yourself for the entire 4 years you're here or 2 years you're here in the United States. Make sure that you show the visa officer you will return to your country. Okay? How are you going to go home? This is probably one of the biggest reasons why they will deny a visa is if you don't show a clear connection. I'm going to come home. I'm going to help my father in his company. This is why I need to study business in the United States. You have to show that your plan is to go back home to your country and use your education. Now, if you say, I'm not really sure, I'd like to do this, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do, but I'd like to come back and maybe help in the government or teach or whatever. They know that at 18 you don't have 100% plan for when you're 21, but they want to know that you're going to return back to your home country. They want to know that you're not planning to stay in the United States. Okay, the other thing is you need to be proactive. You need to show the visa officer you deserve to get the visa. And it's your responsibility to do this. It is not the visa's officer responsibility to give you the visa. It's your responsibility to show him or her that you deserve the visa, that you've earned the visa. I've done my homework. I know all about MTSU and Nashville. Okay? And help the visa officer by doing all of these things and getting prepared. You're making his job really easy. So if you know about the campus, if you know what the campus looks like, if you know about Nashville, if you know what Nashville is famous for, then he'll say, wow, this person has really done their homework. They really do want to go to university. So make their decision an easy one by doing your homework. And always, always be honest. Remember that you filled out the DS-160, your application for the visa. You gave them a lot of information about you. In the home country, they can do background checks. They can find information out about you. They have access to local databases. And so If they see something in your record, but you're saying something different, again, a very clear reason for a denial. Honesty is always best, and trust is related to authenticity. If they feel you're being authentic and trustworthy, then they're more likely to give you the visa. Okay, some things that have been suggested to me, watch your videos of campus. There are a lot of videos about the MTSU campus. There are videos of the buildings. There are videos of students being interviewed. Some of our students are featured on these videos. So go to YouTube and do a good search on MTSU. When I'm recruiting, I have this playing on the tablet when I'm recruiting. All kinds of videos about MTSU. What does the campus look like? How large, what large city is near? What city is near MTSU? Nashville. What's Nashville famous for? Country music. What is Tennessee famous for? Hiking, whiskey, all of those things. Know that stuff. Okay, if you don't understand again, ask them to repeat the question. Okay, this is important. It's also important not to continually do this. The other thing is to make sure you're answering the question the officer is asking, not what you think he's asking. But it is a very clear indicator if you're in an interview and the visa officer asks you, what does the campus look like? And you say, oh, there are lots of pretty flowers. He's very clear. You don't know what the campus looks like. Okay, he wants to know, what are the buildings like? What is the architecture like? How much grassy area? What does your building look like? If you're an aerospace pro pilot major, will you fly? Do we have an airport on campus? The question is no, it's not on campus. It's about 5 miles from here. So know about your program, know about the campus, know about MTSU, know about Nashville, know that we've had some really bad weather the past month. Okay, be clear you do not plan to immigrate to the United States. Again, this is the second time I've said this, so this is really important. The F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa. That means you will not plan to stay in the United States. This is the number one reason for a denial. And again, it's kind of a blanket denial because you, as the student, you're not sure maybe why you got denied. They don't have to tell you specifically the reason why you are denied the visa. This is one of the big ones. Be natural. There's no need to go out, buy a new outfit, buy a new dress, buy a new suit. You're a student. Students are known for dressing casual. Some students here will come to class in their pajamas. It's not unusual. You don't want to go to the visa interview in your pajamas. You want to dress as a student. You want to be presentable, but you also want to be comfortable. Another thing to remember is the visa record is for life. It doesn't matter whether you're on a B visa or an F visa or an E or an H-1B. They will look back at everything that has happened in your life in terms of your visa record. So every denial or failure to maintain status is recorded, and it comes up when they check your record, it will come up. Do not get in trouble, especially now. Do not get in trouble in your home country. Do not get in trouble in the United States. Now, the visa part of the interview part, the visa interview, the immigration part is done. The next couple of slides, we're going to talk about things that are upcoming. We have in the month of April, we have 4 more webinars. On April 10th, we're having our housing webinar. We talk about housing. The 15th, we're having our next step. So this is going to give you everything you need to know about the placement test, the English survey, everything you need to do to register for the upcoming New Blue orientation. All of that is going to be talked about. It's a lot of information in that next webinar on the 15th. On the 24th, we're going to do a very quick virtual campus tour, show you some of the buildings, show you some of the areas of the campus, some of the events that we have on campus. And then on the 29th, for those of you who want a repeat of this interview, this visa interview webinar, we're going to do it again. And we will repeat most of these webinars, especially Housing Next Step and the visa interview. We will be repeating throughout the summer. As we get closer to classes starting, then we're going to add some other ones. We're going to add webinars. Oh my, how am I writing? I'm going to add webinars about placement testing. We're going to have webinars about bill paying. We're going to have webinars about what happened off-campus housing, a little side issues as we get closer to classes starting. You're going to need different information. The visa interviews are done. Now we need to know, what am I going to do on campus? How do I meet my advisor? How do I address my advisor? Those kinds of things we'll be talking about a little later. Homework for you is, if you have not done this already, is to please set up your email MTSU accounts. There's two different accounts. There's a pipeline account and your email. You must have your email account set up. Most of the offices on campus will only reach out to you by your MTSU email. So if you don't have this set up, you could be missing important information. Some of it is relevant, some of it is not relevant. But it's important now to get into a good habit of checking your email and recognizing what's important, what can I save until later, and what do I need to read right now because it looks important. Anything coming from our office is going to be important. Your pipeline account, this is important. We're going to do another webinar on this because you're going to be using this for the entire 4 years. This is where you're going to find out your bills, your tuition. This is where you're going to register for classes. This is where you're going to make appointments with your advisor. There's so much that happens on your MT pipeline account. So learn to navigate, kind of go around and look around and see what's there. The other thing we want you to do is join the upcoming webinars. So we will give you all of the information you need to be ready on day one. If you join the webinars, you will come to campus absolutely ready. If you don't join the webinars, you will come to campus a little behind because most of our students will have already had the information that you missed by not joining the webinars. So please do join the webinars. This is why we repeat them. We send reminders so you can get all of this information and make your life easier when you arrive on campus in August. Okay. We do look forward to seeing you on campus in August, and with that, we are going to take questions. Okay, so we do have a recording. We're going to put this recording, will be on the website. You can give us a few days. Matthew will get that on the website. And then we are going to be taking down old versions and putting the new version up. Okay, can we please know the graduate assistant's decisions will be made? We don't know that. Those decisions for graduate assistantships are made by the department. So we can only recommend there is an application on the graduate website for graduate assistantships. More commonly, I see them offered before the student comes. So reach out to your department and see if they have a decision made, if they need an assistant. But we've got quite a few students sending us their assistantship letters. If you get one, make sure you let us know because we do need to get your I-20 updated. Okay. Any other questions? It seems very, very few questions. Again, if this will be on the website, so go and watch it again if you need it again. It's absolutely perfect to watch it 2 or 3 times. If you have questions about something that is not related to this, then please do email us if there's anything specific about your account, your application, your I-20. Do email us and not put that in the chat.
Good
Okay.
afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, but let's put your questions in the chat so everybody can hear and see it.
Okay. I want to explain about my interview. I went for the visa interview. It is possible?
Okay, I need you to put your question in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. So
Uh,
I have a B1, B2 visa. Can I come to MTSU? No. Well, how do I answer that and not get myself in trouble? A B1 and B2 visa is not able to study in the United States at upper secondary. A B1, B2 visa can only study at high school. So what we do is work with you to change your status to an F1 student. So you can do it two ways. You can come and enter as a B1 and then change your status. The second way you can do that is to get your F1 visa before you leave your home country and come to the United States on your F1 visa. That is my recommended way. Um, I want you also to remember and leave you with this, the Border Patrol agent at the airport is the last person who decides whether you're going to get into the United States or not. You can have a visa, you can have an I-20, you can have a valid passport. If the Border Patrol agent feels something is off, he can deny your entry into the United States. So please do keep that in mind. Um, it's possible you get pulled to secondary questioning. It's okay. You answer their questions. They do have our phone numbers and our email addresses. If they have a concern that regard what in terms of the school, they will call us or email us. But do remember that the Visa Patrol, the Border Patrol agent at the airport is the last person who decides whether you enter the country or not. It is particularly important now. Um, Earlier, I received a graduate assistantship that covers 100% of my tuition. Okay, yes, if you have, you sent us the letter, if you sent us the letter, the official offer letter, we will get you the I-20 updated. As I mentioned, we have a couple of people out of the office. I just got back into the office. So we're trying to get things from where we're just a little bit behind. We're trying to get caught up. So do give us some time, but send me a reminding email and then also attach the letter because I don't know if it came to me or came to Miss Toy. So send it to me so at least I have it. Um, Okay, so we got a question about the I-20 and the major in the acceptance letter. And I remember I was saying that sometimes these don't align exactly. So we have a few, especially at the graduate level, we have called professional science, but under that professional science major are several different concentrations. It's likely that your acceptance letter and what you will study, for example, if you are a graduate student and your I-20 says professional science, you may be going to study healthcare informatics, or maybe you're going to study actuarial science at the master's level. It will come as professional science. Your major will say professional science, or sometimes it'll say biomedical, biological, nothing to do with your major. It's the zip code, that number that is important. So we in Tennessee, we are given a set of the numbers that we can use for our majors. It's very specific for the major at MTSU. This number we're allowed to use in the state of Tennessee. Each state has different numbers. Sometimes they're the same, but sometimes they're different. When we put that number into SEVIS, it will often come up with a little different word or name. Okay, do know that we do not use a code, a zip code, a number, unless it is approved by the state of Tennessee. So the number is what's important. If you have questions, if you're going to a visa interview and you're still not sure why about your major, please do let us know because we have a letter that we can give to you, not that you can hand to the visa officer to help you understand how these two things relate and how we have two different systems, the same number, but two different systems are calling the same major two different things. Okay? It's because neither one refuses to change. Both of them refuse to change. We're stuck in the situation, but it happens a lot. We can help you explain it, but please do let us know if you're going to an interview and you need this, a little bit more clarity on that. Other than the scholarship, International Merit Scholarship, is there any place where I can get help? There are scholarships, private scholarships. I recommend you do a Google search for scholarships for international students studying in the United States. There will be several different websites. What they're going to give you is hundreds and hundreds of scholarships, but you can fill out the questionnaire or an application, and it will filter through only the scholarships that you're eligible for. And so do this. Because they are private scholarships, because they're not related to MTSU, I recommend that you have an Excel sheet that you keep track of the name of the scholarship. When is the due? What are the deadlines? What documents do you need? Is there an application? Is there an essay? You have to keep really good records of the scholarships you're applying for. The other thing to remember is these are not big amounts. It's $500, $1,000, but you add them all together and it helps fund your education. It helps bump up that scholarship. These are stackable, so you can use these in addition to your International Merit Scholarship. I am an international from Nepal. My interview is on April 7th. In the first semester, what are the requirements to enter the honors program? The honors program is generally by GPA. Most of the incoming students will get invited based on their GPA. After that, I've seen students invited to the Honors College based on their performance in class. You catch the attention of a professor, they might invite you to join the Honors College. The Honors College does have scholarships, but the Honors College also requires you to take honors classes, which has other requirements, additional work that you need to do because you're in an honors program. So there's yes, good things, and yes, more is expected of you if you are accepted into the Honors College. Go to the website, read about the Honors College, reach out to them for questions if you would like to know more. Since the cost of attendance is $36,000, I received a GA only covers 100% of the tuition. What will my deficit be? You need to email us with the specifics with that, because we need to know if there's a tuition involved in your assistantship or not. So that's a specific question. Email us and we will give you the additional amount we need for the I-20. I'm studying in Turkey. I'll be graduating this month. I went for my visa interview and I got approved. Yay! But then they asked me for my DENLink equivalency certificate. I don't have it yet. Is that, are they asking you for maybe your graduating certificate? I've heard that sometimes they need your graduation certificate or your final transcripts. I heard that when I was in Tanzania, that they want the final transcripts before they approve the visa. Okay, when you get that, you need to take it back to the embassy, but make sure you're clear on exactly what they need. Each embassy has their own requirements. I cannot say for sure what they're asking. From Turkey is different than Tanzania, that's different than the Bahamas. Okay, I received the International Merit Scholarship. Understand if I accept it, I won't be able to receive graduate assistantship. That is correct. Okay, I can't answer you. If you get an assistantship, you do not get the scholarship. You can't have both. If you want the assistantship, then you need to reach out to your department. Yes, if they haven't responded, there's very little that I can do. You might want to reach out to the graduate college and see if they can move things along. But the department, you have to get it from the department or the graduate college. Fill out the application so the department knows that you're interested. It is advisable to take a loan for a visa interview. That's up to you. It's important to show that you have some sort of funding. Yes, that's up to you. You need to come up with your own source of funding, and based on your country, what is advisable to take in your country. I've checked all scholarships possible and have them saved in Excel, but all of them need a social security number. Okay, but if you're looking for international students, most of them don't need a social security number. So make sure you're looking for international students. It has to be specific for F1 international students. If you're looking for general scholarships, then yes, every American student, when they're born, they're given a social security number. So make sure you're looking in the right area. Yes, we understand it's very, very hard. And keep looking for scholarships. Keep looking and keep trying to find a way to fund your education. I was given a letter of recommendation to the visa officer alongside my offer letter of citizenship. Can I give the letter to the VO? What's the VO? Visa officer. Solve that one by myself. Generally, it depends on what they're asking for. The visa officer, like 4 minutes. Remember, 4 minutes or less. If he has to take time to read a letter, my guess is he's not going to take time to read a letter. We also don't write letters from our office because they can work in the opposite way. It looked like you're trying to get a favor from the visa officer if you hand them a letter from your DSO at the school. So we don't write letters for students, recommendation letters to take to the visa interview. We're told by the State Department it is not a good idea. Okay. Our job opportunities for international students on campus, can we apply for them while we're at home? There are some that do have a website that allows you to apply for them while you're at home. I would recommend actually that you come. What you don't want to do is find a position and not get your visa. If you're close to coming and you have your visa, you can start looking at the MTSU website. Housing does have theirs online. The RMark, our food service company, does have their application online. A lot of the other ones, you really have to go. You have to go and you have to follow up. So if you send an application and nobody answers you, then you need to follow up with them and say, I really would like the job. You have to follow up. Did you get my application? That kind of thing. You can't just let it go because they think you're not interested if you just let it go. They still ask to have a visa. Okay, well, yes, it is possible that they want a visa and an I-20 because they want to make sure that you are actually able to go to the United States. So it is not unusual to me to see that they would like to make sure you have a visa, proof of a visa before they give you a scholarship or a loan. Never give up. Never, ever give up.
Is it okay if I speak? Or do I keep chatting?
Well, in the chat or email us.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yes, actually, this year, I'm seeing more of the assistantships coming without a stipend. I believe the reason for this is they are able to give more assistantships than they could. If they were given an assistantship and a stipend, they can give less. If they give just the assistantship and no stipend, they can give more students the opportunity to get free tuition. So for the students, it's good news, but I understand with that tuition. Most of those, what I'm seeing, it requires you to work 10 hours. That leaves you an additional 10 hours that you can get a job on campus. That gives you some income. But the tuition, having a tuition fee waiver is very, very helpful. Actually, no, you cannot register for classes because priority registration, I believe, opens next week for our current students. And they always get first choice. And then at the senior students, and then as you go down, the junior students have the last choice, and then new incoming students. Make sure you are in contact. If you're a graduate student, make sure you're in contact with your department, because you need to let them know that you have a visa and that you're ready to be registering for classes, and find out who your academic advisor is. For our undergraduate students, you need to join the Next Step webinar, because there is this very specific procedure and dates that you have for your orientation, and that allows you to register for classes. So make sure you join the webinar for Next Steps, and then you will be ready and know what dates that you can actually do the orientation. There are specific dates for our international students. And this is done virtually. So you can do this while you're at home, and we do recommend you do as much as you can at home. But we will give you all of that information in the Next Step webinar. Okay, April 7th, next week. Is it possible to select courses without a visa? Yes, of course you can. You just want to be careful, because when you register early, your tuition payment deadline is early. And so you want to make sure that the timing is you have your visa, you register for classes, but you're not expected to pay your tuition before you have the visa, if that makes sense. So technically, yes, and we do have students who do this. It just means if you don't get your visa and you have to defer, your classes will be dropped. All right, looks like we're winding down a little bit. Can an international student work in the residence hall even though they don't stay? I don't believe you can. Well, take that back. They do have, if you're talking about a resident advisor, no, you have to live there. If you're talking about working on the front desk at housing, yes, you can probably do that and not live on campus. So it kind of depends on what you're asking. Please, if someone can use a different school SEVIS number to pay the fees, and now I want, if you paid your SEVIS fee on another school's I-20, you can go back into the website where you paid that SEVIS fee, and you can ask that that fee be moved over to another I-20. Okay, but you have to go back into the website and make that request. But they can do this, and they're pretty good about it. And then they let you know when it's done. But yes, you can do that. Go back to the same website that you changed, and it will ask you, you have a little question there, it can ask you to change that fee to another I-20. Okay, we're coming up about 45 minutes. So I don't want to keep you here too long. It's getting late for some of you. Again, if I can go back, I want to go back. Can I go back? Nope, I went back too far. I just went out of my presentation. Sorry, I wanted to go back so I could give you the dates. There we go. The housing is coming up on April 10th. Next Steps is going to be very, very important for our undergraduate students on the 15th. Okay, but these are the next two webinars, April 10th and April 15th. Make sure you join us for those. Question, is a graduate assistantship the same as campus employment? Yes and no. An assistantship comes, you're working for a department. You're required to work for that department as a part of your agreement for getting the tuition waiver. An on-campus job can be anywhere. It can be Aramark, it can be housing, it can be Starbucks, it can be anywhere on campus. So, question, yes, the assistantship is on campus, but it's not the same as an on-campus job. We'll talk a little bit more about employment. We'll talk a little bit more about in the next step webinar, and then when we get to orientation, we talk a lot about employment, what you can and cannot do. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. Make sure you're here on the 10th and on the 15th to get the next steps and learn about housing. If you have any questions, specific questions, please do email us. And thank you for joining us. And we really look forward to having you all come to Murfreesboro in August.